really like that ending. That was cool. Everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're going to be taking a look at VERIVERY's Trigger dance practice, and I believe there's a performance version and a music video we're going to look at. Very excited for this. This is a Patreon request. Shout out to Jay for the request. Cannot wait to take a look at this group. It's been a second since I've looked at them. Road to Kingdom was the last time I had the pleasure of seeing their movement quality, so I'm excited to see post that show what we have in store. Can't wait. Let's take a watch. Ooh. Wow. Trigger, like on a gun, but I like that. That was cool. Nice. I like that choice with our feature. That was cool. Nice. This room feels very familiar. It's because a lot of their excerpts on the show came from this room or one of the rooms similar. A lot of these heel twists that we're seeing too. Nice. Nice. I'm very impressed. I'm not impressed at their synchronicity. That is something that I do expect with the group because that is something they're known for. I am impressed at some of these choices in the upper body that they are choosing to make this clean. They're very tricky to get clean at the BPM it's at and how they're building it. So it's very well done in that sense for sure. Cool. Oh. Oh, I like the switch on the heels for that. Fun way to showcase Trigger on the sides and the accents differently. Nice. Side down. That's a lot of bullets they're going through. Woo! Fun. Woo! Doo-doo-doo. I really like that ending. That was cool. Okay, on to the next one. So fun. So definitely showing more charisma, individuality, but still very clean here in the performance version than the dance practice. Dance practice really focused more on the cleanliness, it felt like. Then here I get to see more of these types of choices, which I think is, you know, that's just what happens when you're on set and there's like a cinematic perspective. They can get a lot of the facial focal points with the dance to complement it. Nice. Ooh. I wonder if they're gonna actually use guns in the music video. That's what my guess is. Or maybe they don't need them. Energy's just gonna out of their hands. That would be fun too. Woo! I really like how they hit that, and it was two of them and not just one. I love that. Nice. We have more of a motocross, and then we have more like a Black Ops. So there's a difference in fits. I'm curious how they're gonna integrate. Is there's a storyline, something along those lines? Ooh! Do-do-do. Yeah, they hit that. Do-do-do. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, on to the music video. That looks like the barrel of a gun. That little spiral. Some stairs. He's got a barcode on his shirt. Barrel. There's an actual barrel of the gun. He dodged a bullet, or the bullet dodged him. That's what that looks like. Okay. Ooh. Oh, he got electrocuted. Nice wordplay on that. Ooh, I love lights like that. Those are so cool. Ooh, yeah. I liked the fullness of that there. Oh, that's a cool CGI moment. It definitely has like what's the word? It has like that playful back sound, right? And it makes sense because of the masks and a lot of the graphics that they placed over the masks too. That's kind of cool. I mean, not gonna lie, that was very interesting. I do feel like there could be lore involved with this group. I always love seeing that, but I don't really know a ton of it really at all. So I'm very curious to hear if you are a fan of this group, just hearing your perspective on a lot of the Easter eggs that could potentially be in this music video. But we're here to look at the dance, and that's what we're doing right now. So from the top, I'm gonna lower just a little bit. Turning 2. Honestly, not a lot of sound to go off of to make sure we're turning right there on time. So that's very well done on their end. You can tell they were very well rehearsed. Right here, right in center, that either looks like a Germex bottle or a really fancy water bottle. I'm going to chalk it up to a Germex bottle, but I like the rotation on that, really nice. They all scuff. I appreciate even to the degree of how high their knees are. I bet that was a topic of discussion, but I wonder if they talked about whether their foot is flexed with intention or just scuffed and you just do whatever you want with the foot. And here's how you can tell whether or not that was discussed. You can really clearly see the sole of a lot of the members, even though everybody's knees are up to the same degree, but you don't see everybody's soles. Most likely people who scuff, their focal point is at the knee, not at the flexing of the foot. But I believe my guy right here and my guy right here are thinking through all the way to the heel, but not everybody is. And so only really with groups that really cater to synchronicity do I make these baby details. It's not even a bad thing. That's just if you want to make it even cleaner, because here's the thing, these are humans. The more humans you have doing a dance, the harder it is to keep it clean. That's just life. Just like if you don't want it to have a mess, then don't have anybody around to make a mess. It's kind of the best way to word it. So that there's always going to be something that could be cleaner, but that even the fact, like I even had to go so far as to talk about whether or not there's engagement in the flexing of the foot, just showcases the cleanliness of how they are executing the angle of their leg on this very first move. Really cool. Right there, boom, diddy. I love that, diddy. Nice little glitch effect of the heels, and the accent with the shoulders to create a nice movement. And then they take it through. That's very polyrhythmic. So they take it, and they're doing that heel towards the inside, and they're making a lot of these more geometric staccato choices in the upper body. That's really tailoring into what's about to happen in the rest of the choreography. I love that, taking it through. They're moving really clear on the transitions. Good mirror work on some of them. Notice when I talk about mirroring, it can either be in cadence to two sides mirroring each other, because there's a mirror in center, or somebody is on the same degree of distance from the center as somebody else. So they're still transitioning, so you can tell that my two are mirrors. Whenever you deal with an odd number group, you normally have a 1-point feature a lot of times. Even groups, you have levels that showcase to kind of eliminate hiding people for too long. So I think we're right in the middle of a transition, but it's very impressive on the fact that they're able to do a lot of that and create a nice little accents with everything to get into the spot. Look how freaking center this is. I love it. The spacing is phenomenal. Love that too. You can tell with a lot of them, even to where their weight is placed. Most of them have their weight placed over on the right side, most ball of the foot. Some have it more probably near that heel. You can tell because of where their weight is. Well, no, sorry. Weight pressure is on the ball of the foot, but the majority of the weight is going to be on the left side. Here in this case, his weight's going to be more centered because you can tell what ball or heel is creating most of the baggage of the space. So that's just so interesting, the things you can find whenever you just look at where's your energy coming from and where's your weight. It can shift just overall posture of position, and that can make a difference in terms of whether you look clean, or just clean. This is still clean, and we can appreciate it for sure. I like that little accent, boom, and the dun-dun. Look at the fullness of the arms, great accent, and then you have your feature covering his eyes. I love that moment, super cool. Then triplet, da-da-da-da, nice. Those types of things can come across a bit shaky or jerky, but there it's very intentional on how many they're doing, so it feels very clear with the feature, with the rest of the dancers. Looks great. I like that choice, doon, 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 doon. So it feels like a little stoic monastery, which is this groove right here. It's also called a chicken head, but here you can tell it's a little bit more, intimate in the body. It doesn't quite feel like it's kind of trapped inside almost. It's meant more for steps than it is to actually do the groove, so we wouldn't really have to call it that, but that's what the name of it is if you wanted to know from like a cultural standpoint. Like in the hip hop old school party moves, there's a move called that. But I do like it. It does feel a little bit more, you know, stoic, gentlemanly than groovy, you know. Then they take it nice heel toe. This is important. Some of them's actually sickling here. If you don't know what a sickle is, it's whenever you see people point their feet, whenever you see if this is my ankle, you see my weight kind of cause my foot. So here's like a point. When you see it like a teetering to the inside, when people put their weight near the pinky toe ball of the foot section, that can, you know, potentially cause twisting, rolling of your ankle and spraining your ankle by doing that. So we always teach dancers to make sure that they're placing their weight near the index foot, toe or the big toe of the ball of the foot. That's where you're going to have that's going to be the most appropriate place to balance, and it's going to create a prettier line too. So that's an interesting little tidbit. If you are an individual who struggles with keeping balance, think about that. But you can tell with one of them right here, he's catering his weight on this twist on the ball of the foot but near the pinky. So what's going to happen is his foot's not going to be in alignment with the knee, and that's going to potentially cause long-term strain if he does moves that overlap like this often. So if he only does this move like once a routine or something, it's not really going to be as big of an issue, but that could be something if you're not mindful of where your weight is. Weight is a huge thing, like you just noticed with the posture, like how you're sitting in your hips, but also whenever you do any sort of rotation, if your weight's in the wrong place, it can create habits of causing muscle strain in part of your alignment in your lower half of your body. That's just more long-term things that creep up on you over time. So that's just something I've noticed with just a couple of them, but I really noticed it with my guy with the bluish hair for sure. But it's so fast. You see how fast that is? And so sometimes you don't even think about it. I just got lucky with the pause. Very well done. The transition very quick. And they are, chef's kiss, still in these beautiful lines. Thank you to that. So we can appreciate it. They're walking. I like the double, like the da-da-da. I like that. They go. New feature. Do-do-do-do. The second one. First one's more stationary, creating more fullness of the chest. Second one rotates it around using of the leg. I appreciate that. And everybody has to make sure they have their leg whenever they do that little ranajam or that slide across, sweep across. They has to finish at the same point. So when they rotate, they make sure that they're all turning and they face the same way and their feet are still clean. So I appreciate the cleanliness of that. Looks great. And you have one of our guys, he did something very subtle. Everybody else kept it very, very clean and like linear in their choice. They didn't deviate from the choreography, but our feature did. By adding a little head ISO, I could see it, and I could see he was still my feature because he deviated. But that's the beauty of synchronicity a lot of times, is it allows us to very quickly find our features regardless of where they are, especially if a formation doesn't call for a feature being in the center. There's some beauty of surprise that comes with that. So I love the fact that everyone is doing such a great job of staying clean, that whenever I have somebody just deviate intentionally but subtly, I can appreciate it and see it in real time and not have to be like, who's singing at that point? I'm very aware of who's singing, not just because of them mouthing the words, but because of their presence and how they're integrating modifications in the choreo in comparison to what everybody else is doing. So that's cool. Cool. Bring it through. Da-da-da-da-da-da. They double that up. It looks very nice. Then they bring it through, do-do-do, boom, boom. So there's not a lot of rest to kind of like just sit in any of the movements. And that's what makes it very interesting. And that's what made my first note in the dance practice that I watched before we're analyzing it, is a lot of these choices of how they're rebounding and how they're creating a lot of these, you know, A to B, and then the B triggers this, and then this triggers the legs. Like there's no room. Like if you make a mistake, you're going to be off for the whole 8 count. It's not like just one move and you can catch back on. And so that's what makes it very impressive. It's a higher risk with that, but that's what makes it so interesting. That dee-dee-dee, boom, boom. I really like that choice to complement with the foot. Looks great there. Dee-dee. And then you have your feature. Notice that he has his arm extended. Everybody else has the prep up. Those are little details, but I can very clearly see who my feature is. And then right there, I love that choice. I'm always a fan that I would always appreciate seeing more torso engagement, but for singability's sake, makes sense why we approach things a little bit stiffer. And a lot of this movement is so fast, you don't really have time to allow the body to do anything outside of just the extremities, which is your arms and your legs. So that's why I understand why it may come across a bit stiffer. It could be because of that. It's just the sheer speed of the sequences that they're given. Like my body would probably have to deviate to this and just keep that core engaged and hang on tight is really what this feels like. And they do a great job holding it down. That feature does a really good job of using a hand, and everybody else committed to the range of the head to make that a really clear moment. Looks great. Let the double up, notice the first, and then they use both hands. A lot of times you'll see progressions of movement to make it feel bigger by doing one hand and then adding two. A lot of times it feels like you're crescendoing, you know, go from soft to loud, 1 to 2. When you multiply movement, or you multiply a formation, or you multiply a dynamic, that's going to make the movement feel louder. And so if your music caters to that, those are really fun complementary choices. So it makes sense why they went from 1 to 2 instead of 2 to 1 there. Love that. That right there, love, ching, ching, love that. It hits right in the back of the music and helps you find very interesting things about the track outside of just who's singing. Very cool. That boom, da da don't do. I really like with the overhead choice. That was a fun thing. If I'm being honest, I would say my one note for the choreo is it does feel very dense, in that it doesn't allow us a lot of breathing room to appreciate some of these speed choices of the sequences. I think because there's so much of it, like I've talked about a lot of it so far, and I'm only 27 seconds in, it doesn't feel like, you know, we can have a risk of flatlining or plateauing the choreo, and it's not because it's not impressive, it's because it's not allowing me a chance to breathe. I mean, I don't know if they're breathing either, you know, so I think that's definitely something you always want to strive to have in choreo is digestibility, and what helps you digest. If you're always packing in food, it's hard to chew, right? So that's how you would want to approach choreo. So that would be my one note, is that we're kind of tinkering just a little bit on the line of maybe being a little too dense, but I do appreciate the fact we get to see and be captivated by the fact that they're doing so much, but they're staying so clean, you know? So there's kind of a double-edged sword with stuff like that. This is literally, as soon as I said that, here's your first break. This is our first breathing point, and I think they needed it and we needed it as an audience. So, but my note still stands. I'd say we were tinkering on it. I'm not saying they really needed to do that, but that's just something that's just how I feel in the verses. I think that would be my note. Maybe we could add a couple more little breather points or little different digestible moments, but I really do like the format they have it so far. So the walk around, I like he staggered it just a little bit. They slide back in. Bring it through, do-do-do, boom, boom, and then we're right back in. So they literally said, here is your deceptive breather, and then we're coming right back up in the build-up. So it's fine. I like that choice. Ding, ding, I like that. Very nice staccato. He hits it, boom, and then they grab it, boom. Love the subtlety of that ISO. Really fun. That was a fun little strobe moment. So if I'm talking about a strobe is different than ticking. So strobe has to deal with a sequence of dime stops, which is tense, and then whenever you stop on a dime. So it's just a stop. There's no reverb. There's no extra accent happening with your body. It's just you stop. Those are really tricky to train and do well. So I actually love the fact that we got to have this moment, and everybody did it to the same degree that it needed to be done. It helped me appreciate it there in that moment. That was fun. Good work. I like that subtlety. And then right here, boom, right back in it. Kind of feels like Test Track was a dance. It would look like this. Is it Test Track, Fast Track? Something like that. It's the Disney World roller coaster. That's what this feels like. It's like deceptive, and it kind of just goes, but it's fun, you know? It's kind of like that. So I like that, da-da-da, and they take it, boom. Now notice some of them don't have their arms connected and some do. That would be a little note there, boom, here, boom, because that influences the trace that happens after. So if I don't have it connected, my trace may start at a different part of my body, but if I do have it connected, it's going to naturally start near the top of where the connection was incepted. So that's a little note there. Hitting it through, boom, boom, boom. Love that. Notice some of them have it at the top of the thigh, some have it behind. My feature has it behind, so it naturally makes you want to look at him. That pull, nice tension there. They take the feet, they switch it through, boom, bro, doon. Looks great. Dee-dee-dee, nice little throw. Love that. Doon, doon, trigger. Yeah, trigger. They're using the legs to help make this feel more full, because if they're just doing the upper body, it's going to feel a little bit disconnected with the lower body. So I like the fact they allowed extra accent, so it felt like a full trigger, declarative with the full body, not just in isolation. Looks great. There's subtlety there. Boom. Hitting it over. It's actually pretty tricky to make this look full going overhead like that because of using your back. and how you utilize it. A lot of times uppercuts, I think they feel easier to create and add extra baggage of weight behind in comparison to going from high to low. So that's actually very well done on them to get that all pretty close on the same page. That was nice. Yeah, trigger, using the legs once again. They popping those back, love that. That was, like butter. Ooh, taking that leg, ooh, bringing it around. Even their hips need to be around the same in terms of where they're facing. So they're facing corner, and their knees are also facing the same direction as their hips. So if you're somebody that's ever wanted to cover this choreo, that would be something to think about, is where's your weight? Well, I did, of course, weight, but where is your waist is what I really meant to say. Your hips, where are they in alignment? Because sometimes people may over-isolate the upper body with the lower body, because if you look, their upper body's straight side, but their hips are actually at a corner. And so that's why it feels deceptive if you're going over it and you look a little different. That could be why. It's because they are subtly isolating between the two to push the energy to the side, but their placement is a diagonal, so you can still see the movement for the most part. We do tend to cater, at least for me choreographically, a lot of movements that technically you could do side, but if you deviate it to the corner, you're able to see it from a more appealing angle and your arm's not going to disappear as much. We do that for pictures, but you do that for choreo as well, just for certain angles and visuals you want to give. I like this transition here. You have your first two lines, they completely switch, and then your back line just switches slightly, but not to the same range or degree of distance as your first two lines. So you have a fun little dynamic, and it doesn't feel like everybody moves the same distance, just enough, you know? It creates just a nice variety of distance changing. But the mirrors, I've talked about this, right? The mirrors travel the same distance, and that's what makes it beautiful, symmetrical, and balanced. And the mirrors in my back row actually helped cater what was going on with the feature, because the feature didn't really move that much either in their spacing. So that was really nice to kind of create a middle ground in that. Like that, boom, boom, boom. They take it, build it up, nice stability check, nice fullness there. Some are using the head a little bit more than others, but it's still very nice nonetheless. That trigger, I like the pushing forward of that once again. It's more mid, so it does feel more full than up above, right? The slide once again, I like that. I appreciate the subtle transition, so it doesn't feel like we're doing the same move 4 times. We're doing the move twice, and then we have a subtle transition, boom, and then we're going to impact it again. So I like that. Good job, choreographer, for that choice. I think we're doing da-na. Cool. That was cool too. Everybody had a residual after effect to one of our features. He has something nice and subtle take place. They all boom, 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 have a nice accent. Looks great. Love that. He goes and takes his hand and it causes him to go bye-bye over onto stage left. Then you have a new group in play happening on stage right. That punch, punch, punch. I like that choice. Looks great. Hitting it through, doon, doon. Normally I see more opposition of the hips to the chest, but because we're not really doing any groove sensitive movement, you could make that more like an electric boogaloo or a boogaloo influenced sequence. I'm not going to equate it to that. Just like with the monastery or chicken head, they didn't technically do that, but that movement just felt like a really texturized version of that, hence why I brought it up. In this case, the switching, switch, very quick. Once again, not a lot of room to add any legato to the torso, meaning smoothness. Very from point A to point B, we got to get there. Feels a lot like that. Da-da-da-da. I like that. Cool. I think it says Battle X, right? So they make the word play on the X. Nice little chug through and then bum, bum, bum. Notice some have more fullness of the back. I would say my guy right here, that's right off of our feature. He's using the back more, you can tell, because of where his elbows are deviating. Others they have it a little bit more down to the side. So they could also be engaging the lats, but they're squeezing them more down than to the back, like down and back. Like that, those are little differences. Some could not really even been doing either of those. I think it just kind of depends on how they're holding their upper back. And that's fine. Flexibility also factors into that too. Some people can be hyperextended in the upper back. Some can be the opposite, completely stiff. And that does influence your range here. And when you do push and pull. So that's another little interesting thing that I notice. I notice more with males than females, because a lot of guys, they can build up their arm strength. A lot of times that's like a heavier muscle group that is utilized. And I think that's totally fine. more power to you. I wish my arms were stronger than they are, but I digress. All that to say though is that a lot of times whenever you build up strength in a particular area, you do run the risk of not calibrating your flexibility to match that degree of strength. There's beauty to be had in both. People who are overly flexible with no strength behind it is just as dangerous as people who have all the strength with no flexibility. Both can teeter into the risk taking of mismanaging the responsibility that comes with that position in your body, right? So in this case, I'm not saying any of them have any of that, but that's just something that could be a factor into not having something 100% clean in terms of where your energy is being projected, because it could factor in, are your shoulders too tight? Do you have knots in your back? Are your shoulders too loose and you don't know how to engage as effectively for that range you're going for? It's little things like that. I see it more so with my dancers who are very flexible and they can kick all the way up to the sky, but they can't hold their leg in strength higher than 90 degrees, which is like right tabletop. You do have a lot of dancers like that, and that's just an imbalance between flexibility and strength. So, but that's just something that I'm thinking about here. Notice, I think 2 of them ended up, okay, one of them just stepped and then the other 2 kind of hopped it. So that would be a little in general note. But I know with performance, the performance version, you really didn't see any of these things that I'm touching on. And this is a dance practice. They're human. This is a one take. God bless America. I love it. And I know I do sound like I'm going very specific. The only reason why is because they are known for synchronicity. And so even groups that are the most synchronized in the world, all of them, they can always look at their choreo in different ways for it to be beneficial to figure out a different way to become more synchronized and continue to elevate. Because I have been in a position where there have been groups that are considered an elite level in choreography competency and showcasing it. And so the higher up you go, especially in synchronicity, the harder it is to find people that can give you constructive feedback outside of your group that can help you continue to grow and be better in that particular niche. It's hard to find people like that. And so that's why I try to not nitpick. I don't want it to come across that way, but figure out and troubleshoot different ways in which we can continue to enhance something you're already very, very good at. They're very good at it. And it makes it really fun that I get to touch on these things, because a lot of groups I don't get to because there's bigger problems to talk about. Do you know what I mean? So this is really fun. Just being able to talk about the weight shift determines the posture. Yo, that's impressive for me to say that. So very, very snaps for you for that. Love it. Taking it through. They could have pulled a shamrock, but shamrock takes up too much time to use the chest to get that around. So for me, they just did a nice little pivot to get to the other side, the switch, switch, switch. Then he takes the hand. I like that choice to bring it through, and it causes everybody in the formation to switch and rotate like the switch. Boom, boom. There's a lot of that we ended up seeing there. I like that. And then they take it and they're going to pull. I love that with the hip ball change. That was a very smooth fixed point. Fixed points that I've talked about is like if you have a point in space and it's frozen and your body moves except for that one point, it is a form of isolation. I loved with my guy who was in the white, red, and black. As he pulled, you notice his arm looked like it got stuck and it was left behind. So if you look at it, he did it phenomenally. Look. That, oh, gorgeous. Love that. Like the little body roll, and our feature's the only one that didn't travel the arms down, but everybody else did. Love that. They pick it up, love it, and then they make it go through, push, and then we move to a new spot. Subtlety here, the only person who's looking front is the one that I'm looking at normally. It goes back, staggers it just a smidge. Everybody goes and rotates. Pull, pull. So it feels like we're kind of having a similar structure and we're doing a build up, our pre-course essentially. It's slower, we get to slow down, and then of course we're building the BPM back up, at least physically. And that's a pretty decent structure to go off of. Why fix what ain't broke? You know, that was great. And it's a different way that they deviated from the first time. So that makes it more captivating. I like how he goes and he goes twinkle, twinkle all the way over. Looks nice. The pull. Boom, trigger. He's my guy that stayed. He's still being featured because he wasn't a part of what's going on there. But then he joins right back in. He didn't really do a full body roll in that moment, so he did stick out just a smidge there. I don't quite know if he was supposed to be the feature there or not, but that's the kind of stuff that I've talked about before. When you see somebody deviate or do something slightly wrong, when it's known that everybody's supposed to be doing the exact same thing, regardless of position or angle, you may end up being looked at, especially if you were just a feature instead of the feature that you want us to look at, regardless if they're in center or not. So that's just a little side note. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. It's just an observation. I like the pulse, they boom, boom. I like on that second one, they all slide in. That was nice. And they branch it up and then they peel it down. There's a lot of this. Goodness, very impressive. A lot of core. Goodness, they go and then they take it and make this hand a moment with the knee to rotate it to the inside. Dee-dee-dee-dee. Looks great. Boom, I love that. That was dope. Bring it through, branching it around. Looks nice. There we go. Same thing, just like we did before. Some bringing it around the back. I love it. That was really nice. And then I like the choice of whenever they hake it. That's not a real word. They trace it down, and then they use a nice little shoulder accent or iso with the chest sternum to push. So it's different than the ribs. So using the sternum is going to make it feel a little bit more open. So I like that choice in making the shoulder a fixed point or the arm a fixed point. So it makes it feel a little bit more full. Super nice. Love that nice little trot trot, just like they did before. Doon doon, throw it. Love it. Trigger, trigger. Boom, and then they do it once again. Once again, subtle transition to separate and give us some sense of punctuation in between these. Very smart on the choreographer or whoever did the movement direction for this. Well done. And it's a different way they transitioned than the first time. Love it. And then once again, God, that's like butter. I said that before. That part is probably one of my favorite parts. So satisfying. Oh, so fun. There we go. I love the quickness of that. Da-da-da-da-da. But our feature's the only one who didn't really move a ton, and that's what made that feel really nice. That felt more full the second time than the first time. That was good. Sure. Yep, and they take it da-da-da-da. So all that we've already kind of talked about. There we go, and I like the, the turn, and then we have this part. This part looked freaking sick in the music video. Love that. And then having 3 of them, but not all on the same side. So you have 1 on stage right and 2 on stage left. And then you have your secondary group stage right and stage left. I like that choice. It feels more popcorn, more randomized, but it still feels balanced, which I appreciate. Love it. And then boom, they're all having this little, like this arching rebound. It's similar to whenever you see on like a grandfather clock, this little pendulum, kind of like that, but they're doing it more like you're bouncing between 2 trampolines almost. That's the kind of rebound we're going for with that kind of cushion, and I like that. And it matches that sound very well, hence why I'm able to make the analogies, because that it's residual and it's familiar, and I like that. Comes up, boom, and I like how he twinkles it up, and everybody melts down. Great opposition. And once again, reestablishing the legs and then transitioning. I love that. Super fun. Take it through doo-doo, and then you have one of our guys. He, expands up. Naturally makes me want to look at him. Cool. Then you have 2 of them. Look at that. Really fun on the harmony. So, of course, it's not going to be balanced in this particular moment because you have 2 people featured, and they're looking at a formation that the 2 people are mirrored. Honestly, it is technically balanced. It is, because you have your guy who's your center, and these guys, it was actually smart to have the 2 come from the opposing sides or being each other's mirror, because it allows for balance and symmetry to maintain. I think it's just a slightly off because of the Germex bottle. Yeah, right there, and they go right here into the line, and then immediately back out. Woo! Love that. Oh, love that. Having your 2 begin to da-da-da-da-da, building it to a really fun place vocally. Then you have them branch out. Woo! So they like, woo, woo. So they travel the body, woo, to match the pitch. That was cool. And it's honestly a cannon. So that was actually really fun. That was a fun cannon. Yep, and they bleed it down. So that's really technically the first time that it feels off balance, because one of our guys committed to a side and one side felt a little bit more scarce. That's life. Honestly, we're 2 minutes in. That's the first time it felt off balance. That's fine. Whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. Boom. And a da da. Really appreciate the fullness of really going for that overhead and connecting it in the back instead of leaving it alone at the top. I really like that choice. Very full. Boom, boom, boom. Very nice with the unison. Ding, ding, ding. And then they throw it into the transition. I like that pull there. And then the trigger. I like these trigger deviations. I like that with the hand behind the back. Boom, boom. It's fun. It's very, I think it's more trickster gimmicky here than I saw the entire time. So maybe that would be another note, is having more of these fun ways of doing trigger. a little bit earlier because I really like all the deviations here to the end, for sure. Definitely like those because they switch on the knees, trigger, and then they put it right back in the back pocket. Now that is not proper safety for your gun. You don't want to pop it off at the floor. That's just not practical, but you wouldn't hold a gun like this anyway, but I just find it fun to talk about gun safety in these sometimes. Boom, boom. I like the fullness before they transition it over right here into the choreo. That was the cleanest one, I think. And then they even had a transition out of it too. That was really nice. I like my feature in the center. Notice he had this little extra movement going on in the chest. This, for me, I feel like they built it very appropriately to a one take going from the beginning all the way until where they are now, where I would rather them add more texture in the torso near the end versus the beginning, because what it would come across as is they're getting fatigued. But here it feels like we're elevating the movement that they're given, but subconsciously, and I really like that. Also, side note, just recognize this is Jellyfish Entertainment, right? Fun little fact, back in 2017, I auditioned for Jellyfish Entertainment at KCON. Of course, I didn't hear back. Thank goodness I didn't hear back. I don't think I don't think I'd be a very good K-pop idol, if I'm being real. I think I have too much of an opinion. I'm not very submissive to people. I'm very stubborn. So I am very, and I'm not saying that people who are idols, I feel like they are trained to be what's appropriate in the public eye and what is not. I am not as much. I've had a lot of hard learned lessons. Anyway, I digress. All that to say, I think it's really fun that they're at an agency that I was familiar with before starting doing these. You know, I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, side note, moving on from here. The subtlety of the chest as I slid it back in looks great. Boom, boom, boom. Nice little ranajam, or actually not really a ranajam. They just take it and they slide that leg across, but the leg's in the air, not on the floor. So that's why they were able to get the range slightly different there. There's a trigger. Once again, trigger, trigger, just like they did before. The other one I personally felt was a little bit more spunky. It could be because of the clump or who was featured at that time, but I like it. It's fun. There's that trigger. Boom, boom. Once again. That boom, slide in once again. Exact same thing, like that boom, boom. I like the fullness of that. Then they take it. I like how they took those arms back and they threw them. Looks super fun. Slide once again. Trigger with the double to the back. And then they double it again to the back. And then you have one of our guys, D. He's the one that naturally is who I'm clocking as my feature for that moment because everybody else is doing the same thing. He is the only one who deviated in any way, shape, or form. I like that. Like that. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. You have to pull right there with the little switch. Then notice they just took that formation and they made it a little bit closer together. And they're done right here. Oh, they're not done technically. Boom, da 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 da. They take the foot, step it back, and then they step it back. Runs it around. That was a really, really fun finish. I definitely appreciated that. Da-da-da. It made me hear exactly how we are starting and finishing the choreo. And they put it right back in the pocket. So it's like a little after residual choreo. I love that, especially when you hear like residual music where they have something at the end that just kind of, you know, it's like organically fit. That's really fun to see that. It is trickier to get that in the right timing, but they did a fantastic job. I really enjoyed taking a look at Very, Very outside of Road to Kingdom in this way. This was super, super fun. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. Thank you, Jay, for the recommendation. I've had a lot of fun with my Patreon, specifically in the Pocket tier when they give me requests that I take a look at. It's always a fun time. Welcome to the Gang is also pretty fun, especially in the comment section. I love it. It's awesome. And YouTube, of course. I always enjoy learning and meeting new people on YouTube. It's super enjoyable, and I feel like I learned so much more from these videos, and sometimes I'm able to provide whenever I make them. So if you want to see more Very, Very, I do have full episode reactions of Road to Kingdom on Patreon. We all know there is no way I can ever get that on YouTube. I have tried. And Mnet hates me, so that's probably why it's just going to be hanging out on Patreon. So if you want to go check it out there, you can. But if you just want to see what comes out on YouTube every day, I'm here for a good time and good vibes. Once again, my name is Jess. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.